Jules. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 339 of The Weekly, brought to you by Pocketnow and XDA developers, recorded on this Friday, the 4th of January, 2019. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Now, this is the show. This is the show you turn to for all that you need to know about the technology that makes us go, from folding 5G phones to the gizmos you couldn't even dream up as a kid. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? I'm, of course, your host of the Pocketnow Weekly, and I'm joined by some special guests this week for our first show of 2019. First off, the person right to my side.
Guys.
And the reason why we have this particular setup, so we can have both of us on camera. This is Isa Rodruiguez, editor over at GadgetMatch, and her GadgetMatch.
That's all. I
went ahead and just took it all.
Yeah.
All right. Now we do think that Jaime is going to join at some point. He's now on the West Coast, so he's more on my end of this of the country at the moment. But we don't know really where he is at the moment. But I don't know. But filling in as well is he's coming in from the cold is the Tachyon gunslinger Mario Setafero.
Hello, everybody.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
All right. Where are you hailing from, by the way? I always forget where you're podcasting from.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Very cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it is really cold there, isn't it?
It's colder
Yeah.
than here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna die if I went to Minnesota. I'm dying now.
Yeah. Well, it fluctuates. Right now it's a little bit nicer. I can actually go outside and not lose my hands if I don't wear gloves. But
So what would that be in Fahrenheit? Because yesterday it was 50 or 45.
I was dying.
Yeah, it was 45 degrees Fahrenheit last night.
I've been here for like 3.5 years, and I still can't do Fahrenheit, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh,
But
okay.
I could tell you it's like -5,
there,
-10
-5.
Celsius.
Oh yeah, I'd
Celsius,
totally
yeah.
die. At like 10, I drop dead.
Yeah.
That's like
no,
Jules
yeah.
says that's about 18 to 20 degrees.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
All right. But speaking of which, Jules, of course, is in the booth, and he'll be taking a look at the chat. So make sure you let us know what you want to hear on this podcast. Also, don't forget that on Twitter, you can let us know what you want to hear about using the hashtag, PN Weekly. All right.
I'm gonna start tweeting.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our stories for this week. Now, this first story that we're going to talk about, it seems like everybody and their mother was talking about the earnings report from Apple. So Tim Cook himself wrote a letter to investors, just sort of trying to give some reasons as to why the forecasted revenue for Apple in Q1 of 2019 was going to be lower than what was projected. And there are a lot of different reasons for this. I understand that everybody might be thinking about not only the product releases, maybe product cycles, maybe even the iPhone is not quite as popular as people thought it was anymore. It's declining in popularity.
Certainly not in Asia. It's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So after the Huawei
Well, I
thing,
thought you were talking from personal experience coming from.
well, I mean, I did switch to Android, which is something I never thought I would do. So,
All right. So, to be fair, there are a few things that we should cover. There are, not only do you have the 10S, the 10S Max, and then the 10R. So you do have a slight dilution of just the iPhone brand itself. You also have a number of other products that came out. You have the Apple Watch Series 4, the new iPad, the iPad Pro, even a new MacBook Air.
that's true.
So even though you have a lot of different products coming out, but still have a lower revenue than was projected, does this spell bad news for Apple? What do you think, Mario?
Well, I mean, I think it was expected, and if you consider the launch of the iPhone, it nearly coincided with the 2008 crisis, and ever since we have this kind of macroeconomic expansion. Every other phone company has seen a decline, bigger declines than this. Like ultimately, it's like I think it ended up being a 5% effective loss, and it's the first decline, but it's not like I think it was kind of something that should have been expected at some point. You can't keep that sustained growth forever. That said, Tim Cook did list a bunch of different key items, so we could go over. Some of them are interesting, some of them are expected, some of them are related to the U.S.-China trade war and the sanctions, and also like the cycle. How it was that the iPhones were released after the summer instead of a little bit later in the year.
So like the summer release cycle kind of cut into the Q4 release cycle, which is an interesting way of putting it. And also, like we've already made very clear in the last 2 episodes of the weekly, we are not equipped to talk about political stuff. But there was also another reason, and Jules just brought it up. Also, iPhone battery replacements. I feel like this was one of the most talked about points on Twitter from anybody, any tech pundits, any YouTubers, any tech journalists were talking about how like the battery replacements, third-party battery replacements are really cheap, so people are just able to replace the batteries and move forward with them. But it probably wasn't the biggest killer, as Jules is saying here, of iPhone sales or just Apple revenue in general. But the fact that it was brought up is kind of interesting, especially from a company that tried to throttle battery usage.
Right.
For update at some point.
Yeah.
Well, do you see a lot of iPhone 10s and 10s's like kind of around where you are? Because I want to focus on this generation, because this is definitely where the hit seems to be.
I think at least in Asia, in the Philippines, there are a lot of people who use iPhones, but you can see the difference now as opposed to before where it becomes an aspirational device. People are leaning towards, especially from where I'm from, all the Oppos and the Vivos and the Huaweis. Like Huawei has been killing it. And because they are coming up with phones that cater to what people want, which is mostly a good camera on a phone. Like they've been doing very well. So I've actually seen people who are users like me, who are more into the lifestyle space, who used to work on iPhones, but they've been switching to Huawei's. Some people even switched to Samsung. So I think there's a definite decline, although I don't think it's as drastic as what you see in China, where like companies are actually giving discounts to people who would buy Huawei phones and throw away their iPhone. So it's crazy. I mean, even in Japan, Japan has a really specific phone culture. Japanese people have iPhones on them. But I think it was last year when Oppo finally entered their market. So you see the change. It's definitely not as strong as before. Apple has been slowly losing their target market.
How about over in Minnesota, Mario?
You do see a lot of iPhones here. I guess it's just mostly like in the United States, like especially the area where I live, which is kind of like uptown, and then I spend a lot of time at the college campus. So you see a bunch of iPhones, right? That said, I don't see a bunch of the golden iPhones. That's actually kind of nice that you have like that little distinction.
I'm the only one who has one. I feel like I have the 10s Max in gold. It doesn't even seem. It's not even a proper gold. I still kind of cringe every time I look at it.
It's a pretty phone. I like it.
I'm still on the fence about it personally.
Well, but the fact that I don't see the brown phone, it's called brown because it's brown. It's not gold. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of sepia, if anything. The fact that I don't see it kind of tells me, well, I don't see that many people, at least in kind of like certainly my friend circle. Like I've gotten 2 friends, but 2 friends bought an iPhone this year, but they just went for the regular X just because they could find it cheaper. And I guess they didn't need all the stuff. And like personally, like even in my case, I've been a tech fiend for so long, but I personally feel like I don't need to upgrade at all this year with my Note 9 and 60.
One of our chat people is saying that Robin is saying in the chat, phones are too expensive. People just want to replace the batteries to not have to buy the pricey phones. Like it's weird how we're in this place right now. And this is the last point I want to make before we move on to our next. It's another Apple story, so we can still stick with Apple. The whole idea that tech is no longer long lasting. Like it can be, because the specifications for performance can last for the next 2 to 4 years, but the actual hardware itself is actually made in such a way that you have to replace it.
Yeah, that's actually frustrating. But I just thought of something. Do you think that the iPhone, what was that, the 10R contributed to like lower sales? Because instead of buying the more expensive one, because we review the 10R and I'm totally sold on it. Unlike before when I'm going to get the best Apple iPhone. Now it's like, this phone is actually a good phone. It works and it costs
$700 or something to that effect. Yeah. But okay, I would agree with you there if they didn't also have so many other products that should have made up the gap.
Right.
right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
And Jaime, who again, I mean, I wish he was in right now, but he would say he's such an advocate for the iPad Pro, but it looks like not too many people bought it. So
no, but
there's a problem.
It's also because an iPad Pro costs more than an actual laptop.
Yeah.
MacBook.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of products that Apple should be releasing, but for whatever reason have not, you were talking about lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most popular Apple products of the last couple of years is a lifestyle product, and it is the AirPods.
Yeah.
So one of the accessories that was supposed to come out, not just for the AirPods, but for the Apple Watch and also for the iPhone itself that has wireless charging, is an AirPower mat. And we heard about this like way long ago. There's still no word.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. Like it's so weird. Like they're also way back in September of 2017.
That's a long time ago.
Was when this like story first broke, and since then no word whatsoever.
Like, what is happening? Don't like third-party manufacturers already have stuff like this?
I mean, if it's Qi wireless, yeah. Like I could charge the iPhone XS Max on the Pixel stand if I wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this was supposed to be a first party accessory that you could lay every product you have, including a wireless charging enabled AirPods case.
Oh.
That was the other thing.
Yeah.
AirPower for the AirPods. Do you use wireless charging a lot, Mario?
All the time. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
okay.
In fact, like the one I'm not an Apple user, right? But the one way in which this frustrates me, and I'm kind of like borrowing Brandon's philosophy here. He always says that, you know, whatever Apple does, everyone else follows, which is true. I would love it if this came out, because I want more attention put into wireless charging. Like it has stagnated for so long. Most manufacturers that include really slow solutions or package really slow solutions. Even Samsung's fast wireless charging standard, which only delivers 7.5 watts, and it's still very slow. And it really heats up. Like, it doesn't surprise me that this is not out, because it's not easy to get this to work in a way that doesn't degrade the battery because of all the heat that the energy transfer produces. Like this phone, every time I put on the wireless charger, it really, really heats up. Now, I don't mind, because I'm in Minnesota. If I want to pick up my phone and like I want to use it on the way to the store or something, that's great, because it's warm. And you know, it's my own hand warmer, but it's not that great during the summer. That said, still very slow, still throttles. I would like it if more attention came to this space, so I could see more wireless chargers, more phones with wireless charging. It's kind of disappointing that Apple's not actually following through with this, because if they would have released it already, then by next generation we would see all the other manufacturers come up with their own super wireless charging.
Well, there are a couple of good questions on this topic, in that you're right. Apple, maybe they're not quite the innovator that they used to be, because they're coming into wireless charging when wireless charging was already a thing.
Right.
And Apple used to be the kind that would be able to like dress up a feature to make it seem like they were the first ones, and that's definitely not the case here. I feel like they could have done it if they would just make the wireless charging case for the AirPods. Because in terms of truly wireless earbuds, that is still largely
that's one of your
unheard
favorites, huh?
Oh yeah. I actually really like the AirPods, which I kind of hate saying, but they are actually quite good. Like they are really good. And
I remember you talking about how it blew your mind. Yeah,
it was pretty dope. But also, are they this whole idea that they might actually be having engineering problems also? Like is all of this really tearing into their, as you say, the reputation that they had?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my dad was a hardcore Apple fan. He would stay up and watch the keynotes just because.
Well, also you're using a
yes, but also because my dad was such a hardcore Apple fan, he migrated the whole family into Macs.
Yeah.
Like at some point he was just like, nothing else will work better than this.
You have
to Macs.
One of your cars has those stickers of like, Big Apple, Big Apple, Little Apple, Little
Our
Apple.
dog, okay, so our German Shepherd is named Mac.
Oh wow!
Did you forget about that?
Wow.
But
because I never seen that.
Yeah, but even these days, he's like I think he saw the keynote for the 10?
Yeah.
After that, he was just like,
yeah, he was underwhelmed.
They're not the same Apple anymore. I don't feel like it's worth it to get a new phone. He has been on the 8. He's using the iPhone 8, and he just doesn't feel the need to switch. He doesn't feel like it's worth his money, I think is the main point.
Kind of a hot take from our chat here. Apple will be from Lewis. Lewis. Apple will be walking in the same footsteps of Nokia or BlackBerry sooner or later. I think
not careful.
If they're not careful, yes, you're absolutely right. But I'm going to venture to say if it's going to happen, it's going to be way later than you think.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff, the revenue stuff, this kind of lack of innovation in their products, it doesn't hurt companies quite as hard as you think. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Exhibit A, HTC.
Yes.
So like,
oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Every year,
and as Jules is saying, Rome didn't fall in a day. Absolutely. Speaking of which, Jules also brought up a different rumor here that speaking of wireless charging, apparently Xiaomi, who we're probably going to talk about a little bit later, they seem to be working on 50-watt wireless charging. You were saying how your phone gets really warm, Mario. Isn't that a concern?
Yes. I mean, like just to give listeners an idea, the fast charging stand, the wireless fast charging stand of that Samsung produces, it has its own fan, and the fan is often louder than my computer fan. Like that's how intense it can get sometimes. Like I'm not saying like when I'm full on like gaming or something, but still when I'm like doing like a dual or even triple monitor setup, browsing the internet and doing a few spreadsheets and stuff, the freaking phone fan, well, not phone fan, but the charging phone, whatever, it's louder than my computer.
Yeah,
it's just pretty crazy.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. And the phone's still super warm, you know, and it still charges really slowly. So I'm not sure, you know, whether they're going to be able to balance that. I mean,
I always find wireless charging to just be the thing that's like, I'm not doing anything else.
Right, exactly.
You know, I'm taking a shower, you know, like.
But see, this is why I was telling you the other day about how I hated portable wireless chargers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't make sense. You're walking around and you can never put them on properly. Yeah. Also, you're saying that your wireless charger heats up that much and you're in Minnesota. What if you're in like Asia?
No,
what
exactly.
if you're in like a tropical country? That's gonna die.
Yeah. Final thought from one of our chat peeps, Richard. I personally think that wireless charging is overrated. A great idea, but I don't think we're fully there yet. 100%.
I believe 100%. That.
There's a certain not comfort. There's a certain convenience to wireless charging, but your lifestyle has to fit it rather than the other way around, which is our point.
And connecting to what you just said, honestly, I'm not into the whole wireless charging thing because I like being on my phone a lot. If I put it on the stand, it annoys me because that means I'm like on my desk typing while it's propped up. So half of the time, I really still plug my phone in.
Yeah. All right, so we were talking about Xiaomi for a minute there. Here comes the big story. We don't know if this is confirmed or whatnot, but there are some clues. Apparently, Xiaomi, according to good old EV Leaks, Evan Blass, he put out a video on Twitter that was showing a 4x3 display tablet, essentially a tablet, where the two sides, like an envelope, like a letter in an envelope, would fold in, and it becomes an 18:9, 16:9 ratio phone.
I honestly want this to be true. That looks awesome. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Is this like how come no one's thought about this method of folding a phone?
I mean, babe, why do they have like notches?
Fair.
You'd think that in technology everyone's gonna be like smart and innovative, and yet like most phones have notches, and now they're coming up with whole phones like. Why?
There are a couple of clues in this video that point to Xiaomi. Not only the fact that it like everything on the phone was Chinese, but also there was the Mi Store spotted on one of the home screens. How do you feel about this concept, Mario?
I think it's actually really interesting. I'm actually very excited because I know that other companies are working on it. So obviously Samsung's working on it. Microsoft is rumored to have been working on a Surface phone forever now. They actually confirmed that they're working on prototypes or whatever. I think it's really interesting, and there's like a lot of things that you can do with this kind of design. For instance, the first thing I thought when the screen was folded is like you could have it so that, you know, it's like effectively you also have a screen on the back. So it's like when you fold it, it's like screen on the front and screen on the back, kind of like that phone that came out recently that had like screen on the back, and you could like
the Vivo.
Next,
yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you, next too.
So that's pretty cool because like it's not like I mean it's kind of like that the Axon phone, the Axon M in the same time you get two screens. But like that's like it's kind of but not really, right? But I like that idea as well. So you also get the utility of having two displays when you fold it up. That would be nice. And then again, you can like turn it into a tablet. I'm concerned as to like obviously they must have thought of this and like engineered in such a way that this doesn't happen. But like, you know, when you fold it so much, what happens to like the hinge, the portion of the display and so on and so forth.
That
like
fold,
there's a lot, right?
I have to admit that fold just seemed too good to be true.
Right.
In the video.
It,
Like, it was so like, you were talking about wallpaper TVs, right? And it's kind of like that. Like you rolled a wallpaper TV. But also that concept also kind of pisses me off because it's great to have a TV or a display that's that thin, but then it's connected to this big old box that still has to do all the processing.
Right.
So will phones go that way at some point? Like you got to put like a modular thing on the bottom to make it work.
Okay, I want to point out too, though, that this is a shot in a very dimly lit place.
Well, so was the Samsung one.
Yeah, and we haven't seen any of that. But so that I'm just trying to say that there could be like details that we don't see from this video. I feel like if we see this in real life, it's not going to be that seamless.
I guarantee you, there's a brick on the back, and when you fold it, when you fold it, it flushes with the brick on the back. But otherwise, it comes out and it looks like this fat T.
Oh my gosh!
when you look at it,
so sad.
We folded phones in a lonely place. Says Jules. That's what it seems like, right?
Oh god.
He's like, dim the lights. We don't want anyone to see exactly how this works.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But like the moment that phone comes out, it's gonna be like the Notch. It's gonna be once the Notch came out, every other manufacturer was like, we got to figure out how to reverse engineer this and then like figure out how to change it up.
This is like the second one, right? Ever.
What?
The first was the Samsung foldable one.
Well, LG was talking about foldable displays for a while. There was that famous thing where I can't remember who it was. They were just like bending it. It wasn't really folding, but it was like a bend.
And then they put the technology to their TVs.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean that's pretty dope.
They were talking about that at the time. I remember the rumors were like, oh, is it going to happen? And they just released a G Flex, which was like really not what we expected, not what we wanted.
I will admit though, I kind of missed that. Before we move on, this kind of fold or the half and half?
This kind of fold, definitely.
Yeah.
It looks cool, and I don't know. I feel like it'll work better than the half and half.
Okay. Mario?
I agree. Yeah, I think this looks better. It's more interesting.
Pretty cool. And if anyone can at least attempt it, it'll be Xiaomi. I mean, they helped bring back the slider phone for like a minute. So
one other thing is you could, if you want, like technically, wouldn't you be able to just fold one of the sides and not get like the full screen, but still get a bigger screen?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still going to be an Android phone, so it may not be seamless. There's still going to be some jank to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Moto Z4 Play. So some renders have come out. Basically, anything that points to the Moto Z4 still having a lot of the same tropes that we would expect from the Z3 or any of the phones we have up until now. Also, the Play version of the Moto Z line generally has a lower spec processor, generally the 600 series of Snapdragon, which probably points to this phone not being at all 5G compatible. So it's probably not going to be that type of phone. However, it does come with a teardrop notch. It comes with the same Moto Mod pins on the back. It also has with it a single camera, so no dual cameras or triple cameras in this case. But yeah, the return of the Moto Z line, the Z4 Play in particular. I think the last one, I might still have it actually. The last one we looked at was the Z. It was a Z4. So the Z4 Play is just sort of like a more affordable, more mid-tier device. Can we look forward to more from Moto in 2019? Like, I know that they were pushing for 5G a lot, and 2019 is going to be all about 5G. But in terms of just devices, like, do you get excited by Moto devices?
You know, the first time I learned of what do you call this? The mods. I was so excited, but then it's like I really still don't know how to feel about them. It's like they haven't. If they're gonna click, they should have clicked. but it still hasn't clicked to me, I guess. And it's like, wow, that's cool. You put something on and blah, 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 blah. And they're still doing it. And it still hasn't clicked as much, I guess. So I'm a little lukewarm about it.
It's also kind of cut at the knees, right? Because it's always a Verizon phone. Like, you can't really get into many people's hands when it's only on one carrier. Like, that's granted, Verizon, you know, they do some great stuff. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but yeah, Moto Zs generally are all found on one carrier. The Z4 Play, as Jules is saying here, has a wider distribution, so it's a little bit better, but you're not getting the absolute best version of the Z. Any thoughts, Mario?
Yeah, I mean, it's still surprising that they're sticking with mods. So, I mean, when they first announced the original Moto C, they said that they would support it for 3 generations. Back then, I was like, really? I mean, this probably sounds like something I'll be writing about in 2 years, how this was a broken promise. But no, they did. And now they're taking it to a 4th generation. And it doesn't seem to stop. But I agree that even though they keep pushing it, it hasn't like really found its spot. It just hasn't clicked. Indeed, it hasn't clicked. Like the mods themselves, a lot of them offer functionality that I would much prefer if you bake that functionality into the phone in some capacity. Like,
put a good speaker in there.
Right, exactly. Or give me a better camera on the phone itself. So obviously something like a projector, well, that's a different use case. But like battery, like, you just give me a bigger battery, better battery life, and so on. It's interesting. I've just never been too excited. In fact, like at this point, I'm almost wanting them to move away from this and go back to, okay, just make a traditional phone with a traditional design. Because also, you know, keep in mind that there's only so much they can do while conforming to that standard, right? Conforming to it has to have, the back has to have this dimensions, and the pogo pins need to be here, and that limits the internal distribution of components and the arrangement. I just want Moto to move on at this point. Like, again, it's not going to be, well, I guess technically it might be 5G compatible because they're releasing these ridiculous Moto mods that have a literal chip in it, just like a whole chipset in it for the 5G functionality, which is ridiculous.
Jules is over here saying this is just stalling, because I remember when the 5G mod was announced, when Moto announced it with Verizon, there was talk of this being the last generation of Moto mods, and then they go ahead and double down on it by making a 5G mod.
No, and another valid thing is like what he said. It sort of stumps it and makes it look like a certain way. And at the time when you have gradient, I'm gonna go all out with the colors and everything. And you know this, I love cute looking phones. Like, no matter what you say, I will go for the colorful ones. I will go for the gradient ones. And like, this just looks very utilitarian.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna look at this phone and I'm not gonna care, because it's like, it looks like it's 2019. They should do something about the gold dots. I don't know, maybe a cover, a case, that might help. But
yeah, they put that little piece of plastic on the back.
Yeah, so they have all these phones with all these phones with beautiful colors, gradient designs. You have leather back special edition phones. You have all these fancy things, and you give me this phone which doesn't have the same specs, like was pointed out. Like, it's basically a vanilla phone.
Yeah,
and then you have to spend more for stuff that you'd expect other phones to do by themselves, and it doesn't look as well. So it's
and this is coming from Motorola, which they had Moto Maker. Like, they had the cutest phones, you know. Like, you could make it your own. You could make it as cute as you wanted. You could have the bamboo backs, the leather backs. Like, they were innovating on the design front, like really innovating, actually.
Absolutely.
That's what they need, a mod to make it better, to make it look better.
They're gonna make a mod that you can customize on Moto Maker.
Even that would be a step forward.
All right. So speaking of companies that you may or may not be hearing too much compared to, of course, the incumbents, the mega companies, as they may be called, we have Nokia. And Nokia has been making a bit of a splash over the last year and a half with some good releases. There are some people who are very much in love with the the Nokia 7.1.
Yeah, the Nokia 7.
Yeah, everyone really loved that phone, and now they might be going all in with the Nokia 9. So there are a lot of rumors coming out about the Nokia 9 PureView, and okay, yes, there are going to be a lot of different specifications that are going to be rolling around, but the one everyone's talking about is this 5-lens camera on the back. We talked about this. It looked like a Photoshop thing when we first talked about this, but it keeps coming back.
What do you call that? Some people don't like looking at like stuff with holes in it.
Yeah,
sponges and stuff.
It has a name. It's some kind of phobia.
Yeah,
but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I thought this was a joke at first. It was like
trypophobia.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, of course, Jules knew right away.
But I mean, at the time so we went to a lantern festival last night. I took low light photos with a Pixel 3, and people were commenting on my tweets saying like, "Wow, these photos were taken with a 1-camera setup." And at a time when this is doable, I don't think we need 5 cameras.
What would those cameras be? I don't think anybody even knows exactly what.
Wide, super wide, 1 for portrait.
Monochrome.
There's 3.
Monochrome. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably all of them.
Like
all the different types in there.
But you know what I find really interesting about this is that, okay, we'll talk about I almost said triple camera. We'll talk about the penta camera in a second.
You could throw an infrared camera like this.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go. An infrared camera.
Yeah. That's cool. That's super.
It's January, not October. It's not Halloween yet. What I do like about this though is that one thing that I've always enjoyed about Android is that you can get really good specifications without having to fuss too much. What matters is what brand you like the most.
Yeah.
So you can be like, oh yeah, I'm down with Samsung. I'm down with LG. I'm down with all this. Now you have Snapdragon 845, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, a 2K display, PureView, the Pure display. So you can get all of that. And now there's Nokia on the side. And I'm like, I like that.
The fact that there are choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And not just that, but Android One. That's probably like the thing I like most about Nokia phones now. As for like the camera bit, you know, I mean, it's worth reminding listeners that this is not the Lumia Nokia, right? Like this is a HMD. Like if you think back, they had it was a Lumia 1020, right? That had like the crazy camera. That we can even like go back to that and say yes, they have a proven reputation of camera that they can in fact make a good camera phone because this is not the same company. So it's just the same brand, specifically the same name. So that's the thing. Like, can we really expect a lot out of this? Now, if Jaime was here, he would probably be like, you know, my Mate 20 Pro has 4 cameras, and that's great. And that's true. Like, if you have a company like Huawei working with a company like Leica, they can make a really good camera phone.
But these guys got Zeiss.
Yeah.
Nokia's
well, that's true.
Zeiss. So that's I mean,
true. You're right.
Who knows? Because, like. I just find it so funny that's what the back might look like.
It looks like a flower.
It looks like
I mean, I guess moving towards how stuff looks, if you bust it out, everyone's gonna be like, wow, that thing has 5 cameras.
Yeah, that looks like a robot.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get that wow factor.
Yeah, that's true.
The design itself looks good otherwise, though. Like it looks fine. It looks very 2018, which I'm not sure if it's the best thing to look like in 2019 with an 845 and all the other kind of vestiges. But
well, there are going to be some changes in hardware design in 2019 because we're trying to leave 2018 in the dust, and that includes certain things like notches and stuff like that. So that is why everyone is really looking forward to what the Samsung Galaxy S10 is going to look like, and that's what our next story is about. So we potentially may have the first live photo of what this will look like, and I know you have a lot of I know you have a lot of thoughts about this. But essentially, you know, there are of course going to be like case manufacturers and screen protector manufacturers who already have reference designs for what a phone will look like, so they can have their products available for the launch of the phone. So those are clues in and of themselves. But clearly, from other leakers like Evan Blass, you have like a photo like this that has, okay, I don't know if it's mirrored, but it looks like it's on the right side of the phone, the hole punch. Also, clearly one camera on the front, so we're not going to get any dual cameras on the front. So Jules says it looks like it's mirrored because I think everyone is thinking it's going to be on the left. But either way, you got a hole. It's in the corner, and it's that's where the camera is, and that's how you get a full, quote unquote, full screen experience without resorting to a notch.
I mean, I'm so mad. They can't even fix Instagram stories with a notch. Now they're gonna put a hole in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smudge it up so much because it's just like in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
If this is the case, I'd rather have a bezel on top.
Okay. You rather have bezels.
Yeah.
Not notch, but bezel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I hate the notch so much. Like if I had a notch, I'd turn it off.
Okay.
I don't see why we can't be honest with ourselves here. Like if you stop making the notch happen, it's never gonna happen. It's like, it's just ugly. It doesn't make sense. It's ugly, and I don't see why it's such a big problem to have either bezels or like I do flip flop. What do you call that? Flip
Slider.
up, slide up, slider phones. Yeah.
Now there was I'm a huge advocate of the slider returning, but I don't remember if it was you, Mario, or somebody else when we were talking about it that said the one problem with the slider phone is that it kills IP ratings.
Yep.
Because there are bits that can get wet. You know,
and quite literally you're making an opening into the phone.
Yeah. The thing is, how many hours in a day do I shower and do I need to bring my phone in it, as opposed to how many hours in a day do I stare at this ugly freaking notch? I can't get over it. I'm
gonna co-opt Jules's joke here. Issa is tearing this a new one. And then Jules says, just fill the phone with epoxy. That's a terrible idea, Jules. Oh my God. Yeah. Mario, thoughts on this particular design?
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that because it's Samsung doing it, like you mentioned Instagram, like these companies cannot just ignore the punch hole or whatever, like they can ignore the notch, because this is going to be the biggest phone of 2019. So they can't just like be caught and say, oh, well, our app doesn't properly work with this, right? Like, I'm sure Samsung's probably like working with them behind the scenes to pre-update their apps so that this doesn't happen. That would be what I would hope would happen, right? This particular picture looks bad, but the picture itself looks bad. Doesn't mean that the phone looks bad. It's just like the picce's crap. Like,
it's a leak. Like,
yeah, right.
What leaks look like.
But like, this is like one of the bad leaks, right? Because it's gunky. It's got a case on it. That the wallpaper sucks, which is actually a big deal.
That's true,
right? Like, if you think about like these companies, like they probably spend a lot of time thinking, what wallpaper do we want with our phone? Like, we want to show this phone, it has to have the right wallpaper, and we're going to use it on our marketing material for a whole year. It's got to look good. They have this ugly wallpaper, and then everything else blurred. They blurred everything, like even the stuff that would possibly never lead to an ID, right? Like, if you have the gallery on your phone, you don't have to blur that every phone has the gallery on the home screen, right? So that kind of bothers me. I can't tell anything about the design, the aesthetics of the actual phone. The only thing I can kind of measure is, okay, there's this much diameter for the hole. That's it. That's all I could actually
honestly
get.
It looks like, also the thing that's really I'm getting kind of triggered by right now. If you look at the bottom of this leak, it's full screen gestures, and I'm just bro. Like, I get it. I can get used to full screen gestures. I know that this is our future, but I'm never going to be happy at first. I'll get used to it, but I'm never going to like seeing it on the outset, because there are these three lines on the bottom that are clearly for like swipe up from this, swipe up on the right to do this, swipe up on the left to do this. You're probably going to mess it up when you're swiping up.
And I mean, the other thing is, you put a hole because you don't want a forehead, and yet there's still a bottom bezel.
Yeah,
And it's like,
It's
what is
actually quite
going on
sizable.
here?
Look-
You're missing the whole point, punching a
Yeah.
hole in it so you don't have bezels and then put a bottom bezel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not this is the phone, it's probably the S10 will probably have a hole. They already released the A8 with a hole. And it's like, I guess I'm just scared that 2019 will be the year of the holes. Because as much as I don't, it's a hole. I don't want to. Okay,
You're
never mind.
horrible.
Okay, we can stop there. But as much as I hated the notch, I feel like the hole would probably be on the same level.
Okay. Well, we got to go to our next story, but I will say the one thing I wanted to say, and I think I said it one time before, that hole is in the perfect spot to cover up the back button on some apps. So
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about that. All right, so we are unfortunately in a bit of a bind right now as far as the country is concerned. The government has been shut down for the past 11 days, and one particular branch that needs to be open for products to make it into the U.S. is also closed because of that, the FCC. Okay, so in particular, the Offices of Engineering and Technology. So apparently, is it 14 days, Jules? My bad. I don't know. I'm bad at politics. 14 from today. Okay. Oh, that's right. I was reading from the article. This is from a few days ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the FCC itself is set to shut down, which means that all of the approvals that have to be done for products to actually make it through the FCC and then become manufactured and then come into the U.S., that branch is not going to be operating. We don't know how long that's going to take. I mean, again, I don't want to get into why the government is shut down right now because it angers me. But the fact of the matter is that there might be delays, and one of the big delays might be the phone that we were just talking about because it's going to be one of the first phones that's supposed to come out in the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't know what we can even say about this other than this sucks. This is kind of bad, right?
Yeah.
Mario, your thoughts first.
It sucks. I mean, that's the first thought, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, we can't really tell at this point whether this will impact. Like, we also don't know how extensive of a procedure the approval is. Like, it just might be the case that if it's just like, yeah, we're gonna stamp this report that some third party did, and that's it. Like I don't know really how, but if it is extended for. I don't think it would be extended for another month. Certainly, I expect this to be resolved now that there's been, a bit of change in Congress. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't know.
I know you're not.
I have no.
Yeah, I know you're not.
I have no input here. I mean, I guess it's just sucky for you.
Yeah.
Because
she's not a U.S. citizen.
The variety of phones that we have is crazy.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I can't even count with my fingers how many phones that we have. Like aside from the Samsungs and the Apples and the whatnot, we have the Vivos and the Oppos and all these other, like we have local phones, we have other Asian phones. Like you just cannot imagine the variety. And you're not getting any of those Chinese phones.
Yeah, we're not.
And now you're not gonna get the Samsung phone
we're not
or
gonna
any other new phone for that matter. And it's like, again, that sucks for you.
Yeah, totally.
That's all I can really say.
Well, I mean, okay, so maybe this will be one of those weird opportunities for us to be like, you're not going to get the new phones for a bit until we resolve what's going on. So maybe you can just learn to appreciate the one you got. Well, you know what I mean?
Gratefulness.
Yeah,
Hashtag
mindful.
gratefulness.
Yeah, hashtag mindful. But yeah, and it's funny how we're having this problem, and we're going to CES like tomorrow, like when things when things are meant to be. When things are meant to be announced and potentially released in the US, and they may not even be able to be released.
Well, I guess welcome to my world. Because from my side of the world, everything gets announced in the West, and then you wait for it to trickle down. Like for a few, if you're lucky, if it happens after a few months. You're not if it's like half a year or a year. Like we have to wait most of the time.
Yeah, in Argentina was the same. Like it was always like the new Galaxy would, like the Galaxy S would come by the time the Galaxy Note is already.
But yeah, exactly.
It's just going to be a simultaneous release. You want the pen? All right. So moving on to our next story. Now, this is one that I will admit I don't know too. I know the name. I don't know too much. Like Mario, are you more familiar with Project Soli?
Kind of. I mean, I've read about it. It's just like it's been like on some kind of back burner. I guess now we know why. Maybe. It's interesting. So for those that haven't heard about it, it basically uses waves to detect your. This is just the electromagnetic spectrum to detect your actual hand motions some distance away from the receiver, and then it parses that into some kind of gesture, and that way you can control a user interface kind of remotely without actually interacting with the glass or some dial or whatever. And it's cool. Like, it can be used for like smartwatches, it could be used for home appliances. I don't think it would be used for smartphones because you're already holding the thing.
Yeah. The last time we did an experiment, the tech industry did, I should say. The last time an experiment with no touch gestures was done.
Oh, God.
Do you remember this? I know. Yeah, the Galaxy S4.
Oh my God,
yeah. The little sensor on the front where you could be like, scroll.
Do you remember the ads for that? Like the ads where they had like the pool party, and it's just like, nobody is ever going to do this. Yeah. Nobody's going to
This was the release, the actual Unpacked. It was, I think it was their first ever Unpacked. Like, they actually called it Unpacked. It was in Radio City Music Hall. It was a Broadway musical, and it was let's just say it wouldn't really fly where we are in our political climate.
I mean, I get that it's not something that feels like it's useful. I definitely feel that it's not a key feature, but honestly, I could see myself using it like in the kitchen baking. Okay, I don't bake, but if I were to learn how to bake and make a mess in the process, I'd be like, I wonder what the... But again, that's what the smart displays are for, right?
For kitchen stuff, it's perfect. Yeah. Like, if your hands are messy, you know, you've been, I don't know, kneading some dough or whatever, but there's like a timer or something that you need to like dial or anything. It's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
There's no denying that there are scenarios where it would make sense. It's just the way they presented it was just way too tone deaf.
And for me and for them to sell it as the main point, I guess is a thing. 100%. Like, it would be a nice addition, but like for it to be the highlight.
I guess some people are excited about this because it makes it seem like we're going to make it to that
Minority Report.
Thank you. I almost said Identity Report. We're going to make it to that Minority Report thing. And if it's on a smartwatch, but the thing is, it's going to look weird if it's on a smartwatch. Someone's just over here like this.
No, but it does look cool. The video I saw was basically someone like snapping, and then like it was controlling the, what was it? Was it a watch or something? So in theory, it could be like, do this. Watch would know.
I could see you totally doing that, where there's literally a screen you can touch to do something, but you're still going like this with your hand above the watch.
Yeah,
I think
useless.
I think my main takeaway from this whole thing, though, is that I feel like there's some technology going on in the back end, because Google and Facebook are arguing over stuff that we don't even understand. Like, I was thinking when I first read this, and like, what does Facebook have to do with frequencies, right? It's like, Google is where I add friends and post photos. Why are they dabbling with frequencies and stuff? But they are. And like the whole point of this whole program being able to proceed,
they want to track your hand movements.
No, but basically, probably that's the thing though. Like, that's not so far away. The only reason they proceeded was because there was a compromise.
Oh, sure.
So the whole thing here is they're going there. Yeah. And
you got to find every little thing to track.
It's a little scary.
Oh, sure.
It's a lot scary, actually. Yeah. It's like, would be fun. Like, I'd be like post.
But we let them track us so that we can have faster YouTube and faster everything, as AT&T is trying to prove with their 5G speeds.
Nice segue.
But are kind of, they're not really there. Okay, so we're looking at these two screenshots here from speedtest.net. So what we're looking at here is about 200 megabits down, which is okay. I still get mad when I see upload speeds that are they're like 0.1% of the download speed. Yeah. It still pisses me off. But apparently these speeds are not quite as fast as all 5G is meant to project.
Mhm.
How's 5G? This is a very specific question.
Yeah.
So bear with me.
I know the answer already.
What does 5G look like at all in like your part of the world?
I don't think that even exists.
Oh yeah.
In my part.
Well, not even just the Philippines. I'm talking about Asia. Like,
well, probably in some parts of Asia, sure. We're in the Philippines, definitely not. But you have to realize that in the Philippines, it's a mirror of how a lot of markets are in that region of the world. If we're talking about Singapore, if we're talking about, I don't know, Taipei, probably. If we're talking about China, sure, that's going to be great. But in a lot of areas, we're just wanting better internet. It doesn't even have to be 4G. Like, a lot of the time, 4G is a problem. LTE is a problem.
Yeah.
So at this point, in a lot of places in the world, no one's even wanting to get 5G if they can't even get to 4G.
Yeah.
Hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
that's true.
Someone in our chat, B Floyd, says AT&T 5G speeds. They just rebranded 4G LTE to 5GE.
Yeah.
Can we all just keep saying this? 5GE.
Yeah.
5G evolution.
They're actually doing that, which is crazy.
Wow.
Like they're and I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It's early gen, whatever. Also, just for listeners, the numbers that Joshua just recited were from obviously not a phone, because we don't have 5G phones yet. It's from hotspot that AT&T is selling, and some user on Reddit posted it, right? And yeah, the disparity was like 10 megabytes down, and I think the upload was like just like, again, like this very small gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the latency was the same. So
I make that complaint all the time here. Like even Jaime, whenever he's on back in Honduras in South America, like he's always saying that his 4G, his LTE speeds are much more reliable than his Wi-Fi speeds. We don't have that here. Like you got to basically be on Verizon to get that kind of consistent LTE speed. And like I said that too, like if we can't perfect our own LTE, why are we even thinking about, because 4G LTE is part of the grander picture of 5G.
Yeah.
So we're already cutting ourselves off at the knees by using something that's not amazing and perfect to create this whole new platform. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I bet we're going to be hearing a lot about 5G in 2019. Obviously,
I'm sure it's going to be one of the tech hot trends.
Yeah, it's going to be the trends, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But that does it for our first part of the show. We're going to go ahead and take a little break.
Woohoo!
All right. Okay, so quiet on the set for this part. I have to read an ad. That's why. Okay. All right. The Pocketnow Weekly is supported by TripleByte, the job board for coders, no matter where they come from. And really, it shouldn't matter if you got a degree from MIT or Princeton. Software engineers come from all walks of life, and many of them didn't even think it would be their jam. That girl who runs a few too many homebrew servers for obscure JRPGs, she writes. The guy who got tapped by his boss to maintain mobile apps for the business, he writes too. But the problem is, sometimes you can't really put your experience into a resume and expect big tech companies to hire you. Fortunately, with TripleByte, you don't have to worry about that. You take a quiz, you land a first interview with one of the many well-known firms like Apple, like Dropbox and Adobe, and then go on to a second interview, and then boom, you're in. In fact, TripleByte is so confident that you'll get in that it's offering a $1,000 signing bonus for Pocketnow Weekly listeners. Just head to triplebyte.com/weekly. That's triplebyte.com/weekly. Thanks to TripleByte for supporting engineers and supporting the Weekly. All right, we're back in. Right before I got into the break, Jules was saying the word 5G will be banned in 2020. And by then it'll be 5GH. It'll be E to H to finally LTE.
Oh gosh.
So there's a thought that we wanted to do in the interim between our two big segments here. We're going to be talking about the top trends that we may be into or very much not into moving into 2019. But here is a question that I wanted to pose to everybody. What is the phone, the daily driver or the phone of 2018 that you're bringing into this new year? Like what is What is the one that you're relying upon as the clock turned? Let's start with Mario, because I can see the gears turning in your head.
For me, it's probably the Note 9. I mean, it's like a tough pick between the 60 and the Note 9 for me. The thing is, like, the Note 9 just, like, again, wireless charging, little small things like that, it has everything there, right? The 60, to me, it's like actually a more enjoyable phone to use, surprisingly enough. Like, if I want to just like lay back and browse my phone, I'll just use the 60. But if I'm going outside, or if I'm, you know, driving up somewhere or going on a trip, going to some event or whatever, I'd much rather have the Note 9. And you know, it's serviceable. I can even see what, I mean, I say this every year with the Notes, I guess, specifically the Notes, but I can't see what Samsung would do that would make me want to upgrade. And to be honest, they don't do much. I still upgrade just because I like the phone so much.
They should put like an extra pen, and then you have chopsticks.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, that made me laugh way too much.
I don't know where that came from. It's just the moment it hit.
Are you hungry?
I might be. The moment it got in my head, like I thought it, I was like, I have to say this.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Maybe they could add Wi-Fi to the pen.
Exactly.
5G pen.
5G. A 5G.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love that S Pen though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an influencer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say in my review of the Note 9. I wanted to say, because I came up with the term, this phone is for social media junkies, but originally I wanted it to say influencers.
Yeah, it's a phone for many people. You know,
I keep on doing it. Sorry. I've had friends who are non-techies. Like, these people have lived on their iPhones, swore by their iPhones. But they switched to the Note 9 and they love the selfie features of that S Pen.
So what do you take? Is that what you're taking from 2018 into now? You have way more phones to choose from.
Okay, no. So I'm just gonna be truthful about this. I switch back and forth between the Pixel 3, not XL, no notches. Yes,
good.
The XL's notch is crazy stupid. But that being said, and this is a surprising pick for me too, and you've seen me be on this phone for so long, it's the Oppo Find X Lambo.
Lambo though.
Yeah, Lambo though. But the only difference is that, like, people are going crazy over fast charge, but I still maintain that Oppo has the best fast charge technology. It's literally 0 to 100% in 35 minutes. And this is what I've been living on. And for the first time after having been an iPhone user for years, when I'm so used to fraying cables and carrying a power bank everywhere I went, like, I plug it in for 30 minutes. It's literally me taking a shower or putting on my eyebrows, and it's charged. So it's awesome. So and, like, honestly, that phone screen, that is a real full screen phone.
Well, I don't know where you put it, but we have the Mi Mix 3 in the house. So speaking of full screen display, like that's what we're going to be using. I'm planning. That's the phone I'm bringing with me to CES. I'm trying to finish the OnePlus 6T review right now, just for me. I mean, there's already one on Pocketnow. But I'm trying to finish my review of it, and I have to say, I adore what OnePlus has done. I adore it. It's great. And I will admit that I would first go for the McLaren edition than any other edition, but you kind of you can't really go wrong. If you happen to be on T-Mobile, you're going to get a monthly plan, a cheaper phone. Then the OnePlus 6T is a really compelling choice, and that's what I love the most about it. We have a few people in the chat here. Max is saying, I want the Mate 20X next. I know a lot of people.
Oh, we have that, the big one.
You have it?
Yeah, it's too big. I mean, okay, this is a thing with me. Again, I'm a very specific type of user. Like, I mean, it's this big. My hands can't even grasp that thing. So
Ibrahim says S9 Plus until 2020. You certainly could, as long as the battery doesn't crap out on you. Henry says, any phone over 6 inches is too big for me. Before I got my P20 Lite, it was over 4 inches, which was too big. And then Sneed says, I really like my Moto X4 as much as my Pixel 2 XL. I would maintain that the Pixel 2 XL is still a pretty damn good phone. You could still use that now if you wanted to in 2019. But speaking of 2019, let's talk about some trends that are going to be happening. We know we do have some glimpses into what's going to happen. We're going to get even more starting as soon as tomorrow when we go to CES. Mario, are you going to be repping at CES?
No, not this year. I gotta go to
Okay.
Florida because my mom bought a house and she really wants me to go check it out. So
That sounds fun, actually.
Yeah.
I am bracing myself for the next few days.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty nuts. TK
Yeah.
will be out for XDA though, right?
Yeah. And I think Michelle will be going too.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle will be going. So yes, probably meet at some point.
All right, cool. So why don't we start with you then, since you're not going to be going to CES?
Yeah.
What trend do you think is actually going to turn out very well in 2019? And also, we're going to ask you what you think will be the worst trend of 2019.
Okay.
We have a few examples in our little worksheet here, but like in anything that you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, I guess not CS related necessarily, because it's probably going to take a while for this to trickle down. I think that camera pinhole will turn out well, but I don't think I would like it per se. I think that in the end, Samsung will probably do a really nice presentation with Galaxy S10, and I think that reviewers are going to like that phone because they like the S phones in general. They're really good phones, so it's going to get good reviews. The fact that it's going to get good reviews will probably make the phone a success, like a relative success again, because we see this market decline, but it's still going to be one of the better phones of 2019 as expected. And it's going to carry that punch hole, which, it's what it is. It's still one of the more interesting design changes that Samsung will have done. And then other companies will follow suit. So other companies will follow suit and they'll come with their own punch holes. They're going to be smaller and some of them are going to be at the middle. And at that point, why don't you just include a water drop notch? But we're going to see that. We're going to see that. And I think that it'll get to a point where it'll be everywhere. And the phones are going to market it. They're going to market it like a thing, just like you saw a bunch of OEMs actually market the notch, which was crazy. You're going to see OEMs market the punch hole, which it's less crazy because it's kind of like a thing. It's like more of an interesting design feature. And it's going to be big. Doesn't mean I would like it. Probably won't be buying a phone with that, with a punch hole, just because, like we just said, do I need to upgrade? No. Will I be the one reviewing these phones for XDA? Probably not. I wouldn't want to. I'm not interested in it. But it's going to be big, whether I like it or not.
Our chat's going nuts about the pinhole right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so that would be what you think is actually going to work in 2019. What do you think is going to flop? What do you think is going to land right on its pinhole face?
I mean, I don't want to say 5G, but I have to say 5G.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too.
Yeah, if we say like million camera phones, yeah, whatever. Like we've had this, right? Like Nokia, nobody's gonna pay that much attention to Nokia. It would be more interesting if it was something that Samsung was doing and it failed, and all the companies have already proved that it can work, like Huawei. So foldables, I don't, maybe late this year they'll be released. Who knows? But 5G, the phones with 5G are coming out soon, and the service is not going to be, in my opinion, what I expect. It's not going to be noticeably improved over 4G LTE. Certainly not the kind of the higher end of LTE. So that's going to have people wondering why are we doing this now? And that's the thing. It's going to be a slow process. We're not going to see the improvements right away. But what worries me is that we might not see any improvements right away, any improvements at all. Like anything tangible that users can point to and say, my phone is doing 5G and it benefits my user experience in such and such way. You're not going to get that word of mouth if there's no noticeable improvement that people can point to. And as we said, we saw already, like the speed difference doesn't seem to be there as far as like the AT&T 5G hotspot in particular goes. If it's not there for the Snapdragon A55 and the X24 module, the X50, the X50 modem, then we're going to be in a real trouble, I think. So that's what I think.
How about you, sweetie? What do you think?
Well, obviously, I hate the whole punch hole idea.
Yeah.
That's stop making punch holes happen. They're never gonna happen. I will keep saying that until 2020, or until I figure out a way, Instagram stories or something figures out a way to fix it, but I highly doubt it. They haven't fixed it on the notch. They're probably gonna fix it. They're probably not gonna fix it here.
So you think pinhole is still gonna be it's gonna suck?
It's gonna suck, but like every single trend, like the notch, will end up with pinhole. Phones, which sucks. I want the foldable phones to happen.
Okay, so
but I don't think they will.
Okay.
I don't think we're there. I hope we get more slider phones.
Yeah.
Slider phones were cool when I was a kid. Slider phones are still cool now. If the whole point is getting a full screen phone, just do the slider, guys. Gosh,
I agree.
Oh my gosh.
I think I last week said I wanted to pour one out for the slider phone this early because we just got them back and now the pinhole is appearing. So sliders are going to die before they even have a chance to like have fun, have their day in the sun again.
See, slider phones are just fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole act of doing that slidey thing. Whether it be the Mi Mix 2, whether it be your Vivo Nex or your Oppo Find X, it's always an amazing experience.
And it's been a while since just on a fundamental level, hardware has been this fun.
Yes.
Probably the only phone that's done it is yours, Mario, the Note 9. Like you could actually have fun with the S Pen. You could use it in practical ways.
That's true. That's actually very true. Yeah.
Like when you slide, well, I haven't done it yet because we're still fresh with the Mi Mix 3, but when you slide it down, you can get there could be a sound effect.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
A sword sheathing and like stuff.
Yeah, get a little nice effect. Yeah.
You know, I walk around. So people are like, okay, what's so funny about slider phones is like, you'd think other people would notice, but they don't really. Like you can walk around with a slider phone, slide your phone all you want, but the person sitting next to you won't notice unless they're staring.
Yeah.
And I get the same reaction over and over with the Find X. It's like I'm using it, flipping around, playing with it, and no one cares until like I say something or they ask me what phone I'm using. They look at it and actually see the camera
motor,
come up, and that's when their minds are blown. So it's a great thing because it's a fun thing to use. It's something that isn't too flashy, but there's still that wow factor, and there's no hole.
Do you prefer the motorized version or the mechanical?
I was going to say.
That's the thing, though. People don't really like the motorized version, and I get it. Like you've been telling me that it's gonna die, but we live at the time when, like, after 2 years, we switch phones,
which is fine.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I thought it would bother me more, but it doesn't. After a while, it normalizes, and it's just fun.
Okay.
And you don't barely notice it. Yeah.
The built-in fidgeting. That's a new feature, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is dope. Like my Mi Mix 3 hands-on for Pocketnow started with me just going click, 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 click.
Yeah. I remember that.
In our chat, Max is saying faster in-display fingerprint sensors. I agree with that. I would say we should be seeing more of that. If you ask me, though, the trend that I think is going to flop, I think, is going to be 5G, but it's not going to be like a dead flop. It's just going to be, it's not going to be quite where it should be.
Yeah.
No one's going to actually look at it and go, 5G is here, let's all rejoice. But no one's going to be rejoicing because they're still on LTE.
And to add to that point, it's just unlike certain trends, like let's say slider phones or the pinhole camera, which the whole world more or less can experience. 5G isn't something that will be impactful. You're gonna say there's 5G, everyone's gonna say okay, this or that, but certain parts of the world will not even get to see that anytime soon. So
I would have to say, I think the trends that I'm looking forward to the most, that I think will actually truly benefit people, will be better wireless audio. I think that companies are going to be diving in a little bit more. Qualcomm already announced their chip that allows for independent streams to truly wireless earbuds, which is awesome. And that means connectivity will be better. That means the audio will be better. But I also think that just in terms of mobile audio, what we're seeing right now are phone manufacturers creating the USB-C earphones that their phones require because they're the ones who took away the headphone jack in the first place. But I want to see actual audio companies. I want to see Bose jump in. I want to see Sony's audio division jump in. I want to see Audio-Technica. I'm using a pair right now. I want to see all of that, all of those companies dive into the world of mobile audio head first. Yeah. Because then we're going to get great sounding audio, whether it's wired or wireless. I'm actually really looking forward to whatever truly wireless earbuds are coming out at CES. I'm trying to get a beat on like who's going to be doing it, what new features are going to come out, because I love that. I think on some level there's a parallel universe where I am that guy from Her, because he always has a thing in his ear.
Exactly. But so speaking of specific users and specific user bases, what I love that happened in 2018 was tech, because we've gotten to a certain point in tech where like you more or less can do stuff, right? Your mid-range phone can do what more or less at a tiny like part can the flagship phones can do. Yeah. Like it's basically there's a line where all tech is over. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that being the case, manufacturers are able to cater phones to specific people who are less techy, like people like me.
They're able to specialize.
Yeah, I think my demographic had it good when it came to tech the previous year, because again, we saw phones that are more catered to users like me. Like the S Pen, for example, one main selling point was that it could take selfies. We have seen beauty modes going crazy. We've seen beautiful leather-bound phones. We've seen all these gradients. And the fact of the matter is, this is a demographic that has been left out a lot. And that just shows me that tech is taking it to a place which allows for more inclusion.
More personality. Yeah. Also. Which is what's been kind of missing a little bit. Let me see here. We got a few things coming up. The concept of the slider is Peter in the chat. The concept of the slider is great, but the BlackBerry Priv didn't take off the way it could. Well, I would argue that the Priv was less a slider phone and more a keyboard phone, which is where it faltered the most. So they tried to use the slider concept to reveal a keyboard, but what we're talking about here is a slider to reveal other things. A keyboard will never take off on a smartphone now. That's just the just the truth. So I think giving the Priv a little bit more credit than that would be let me see here. If BlackBerry were to make this again now with their newfound experience, I mean, I think that a new Priv, we're due for one. I think it'd be great to see what they have coming up next. Let me see. Craig had the slider phone from the Matrix. It didn't last.
And Nokia released the same phone last year, the banana phone.
They actually did it.
That's so cute.
Oh,
I think, I think that pretty much does it. I mean, if you want to let us know what trends you're into for 2019, what you think is going to do great, what do you think is going to flop. Also, let us know what phone you're taking into 2019. Make sure you let us know on social media. You can also email us. And it's on that note that I'm going to go ahead and say that is it for this show. Catch up on what the weekly is talking about by reading our rundowns at pocketnow.com/podcast. Also, make sure you make your voices heard by emailing us, like I said, podcast@pocketnow.com. We're going to talk about Twitter for a bit. Mario is at TachionGun. That's TACHYONGUN. There we go. Isa is at SisaSaid. That's SISASAID. There you go. Jules over in the booth is at Point Jules, and I am, of course, JV Tech Tea. You know me. I'm JV. I love tech, and I love to drink me some tea. Pocket Now is at Pocket Now on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube in English and Espanol, where you can find more news on the Pocket Now Daily, which Jaime does. Unfortunately, he was not on the show, but hopefully we'll see him. We are going to see him, obviously, for next week at CES, where he also does Pocket Now Adadio every weekday. We'd certainly appreciate your feedback through reviews and ratings on Google, Apple, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever you might be streaming us. Because without you, we would not have been able to make this show for your eyes and ears for now 7 years straight. Until next week, hasta la vista, baby. We'll see you all in Viva Las Vegas.